Picture yourself standing on the banks of the mighty Nile River in 1479 BCE, watching the sun rise over the most powerful civilization the world has ever known. Ancient Egypt at its peak was a realm of unimaginable wealth, architectural marvels that defied comprehension, and cultural achievements that would echo through eternity. This was the Egypt of Pharaoh Thutmose III, when the empire stretched from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north, controlling trade routes that made it the beating heart of the ancient world. Thanks to revolutionary AI technology, we can now reconstruct these magnificent scenes with breathtaking accuracy. By analyzing thousands of hieroglyphic inscriptions, archaeological discoveries, and ancient artwork, we're able to recreate the grandeur of pharaonic Egypt as it truly appeared during its golden age. Join me as we step back over 3 millennia to witness the splendor that defined an empire. In this journey through time, we'll explore the bustling streets of Thebes, when it was the greatest city on earth, witness the construction of monuments that still inspire awe today, and discover how ordinary Egyptians lived in the shadow of gods walking among mortals. We'll see how the Nile's annual flood transformed barren desert into emerald fields of grain, and understand why this civilization endured for over 3,000 years. But first, let me show you just how extraordinary this lost world truly was. This is Memphis, the ancient capital that controlled the crossroads between Upper and Lower Egypt. Founded around 3100 BCE by Menes, the first pharaoh to unite the two lands, Memphis had grown into a sprawling metropolis of over 300,000 souls by the height of the New Kingdom. The massive walls of white limestone gleamed like polished marble in the desert sun, earning the city its name, which means the White Walls. Dominating the skyline stands the Great Temple of Ptah, patron deity of craftsmen and creator of the world through divine speech. This wasn't just a place of worship, but the administrative heart of the kingdom, where royal scribes recorded tribute flowing in from conquered territories across the known world. The temple complex employed thousands, from high priests who communed directly with the gods to humble bread bakers who fed the temple workers. Notice the harbour crowded with vessels from across the Mediterranean and beyond. Ships from Phoenicia brought cedar wood and purple dye, while Nubian barges carried gold, ivory, and exotic animals. The docks never slept, with merchants haggling in dozens of languages while porters hauled amphorae of wine, sacks of precious spices, and bolts of the finest linen that would grace Pharaoh's court. Moving south along the Nile, we arrive at Thebes, the city Homer called the 100-gated, though it actually possessed far more than that number of magnificent temple entrances. During the New Kingdom, Thebes served as the religious capital of Egypt, home to the Great Temple of Karnak, the largest religious complex ever constructed by human hands. This is the hypostyle Hall of Karnak, a forest of stone columns that stretched across an area larger than Notre Dame Cathedral. 134 massive columns, each carved from single blocks of sandstone, supported a roof that seemed to touch the heavens themselves. The largest columns measured over 70 feet in height and were so wide that 50 people could stand on their capitals. Walking through this sacred space, your footsteps would echo off walls covered in hieroglyphic inscriptions, recounting the mighty deeds of pharaohs who claimed to be living gods. The air was thick with incense burned on golden altars, while priests in pure white linen performed rituals that had remained unchanged for centuries. Shafts of sunlight filtered through clerestory windows, illuminating painted reliefs that told stories of creation, divine judgment, and eternal life. The wealth required to build such monuments staggers the imagination. A single obelisk could take 7 months to quarry, transport, and erect, requiring the coordinated efforts of thousands of workers. Yet pharaohs raised dozens of these granite needles, each one a prayer in stone, reaching toward the sun god Ra. Beyond the temple walls lay the Valley of the Kings, where pharaohs were laid to rest in tombs carved deep into the desert cliffs. These weren't simple burial chambers, but elaborate mansions for eternity, decorated with intricate paintings depicting the pharaoh's journey through the underworld. The most magnificent belonged to Seti I, whose tomb descended over 400 feet into the bedrock, its corridors and chambers adorned with texts from the Book of the Dead rendered in brilliant blues, golds, and reds that remain vibrant after 3 millennia. But Egypt's grandeur extended far beyond royal monuments. This is the village of Deir el-Medina, home to the skilled artisans who carved and decorated the royal tombs. These weren't ordinary workers, but highly trained specialists whose fathers and grandfathers had passed down secrets of their craft through generations. The village was a world unto itself, with its own temple, school, and law court. The houses here reveal the daily life of ancient Egypt's middle class. Built of mud brick with wooden doors and window frames, each home typically contained 4 rooms arranged around a central courtyard. The front rooms served for receiving guests and conducting business, while the back rooms provided private family space. Rooftops were flat, used for storage and as cool sleeping areas during sweltering summer nights. Women in Deir el-Medina enjoyed remarkable freedom compared to their counterparts in other ancient civilizations. They could own property, conduct business, and even serve as witnesses in legal proceedings. The village records, preserved on thousands of ostraca, limestone flakes, and pottery shards used as ancient notepaper, reveal a community where women regularly bought and sold goods, filed complaints against neighbors, and participated fully in village life. Life, the agricultural heartland of ancient Egypt, reveals the true foundation of this remarkable civilization. During the annual inundation, when the Nile swelled with floodwaters from the Ethiopian highlands, the entire landscape transformed into a vast inland sea. Farmers watched anxiously as sacred nilometers measured the rising waters, knowing their livelihoods depended on the river's precise rhythm. When the floods receded, they left behind a layer of rich, black silt that Egyptians called the gift of the gods. Fields stretching to the horizon burst into emerald life as farmers planted emmer wheat and barley, using wooden plows pulled by oxen. The geometric precision of these agricultural plots, divided by an intricate network of irrigation canals, created a patchwork of green that extended from the desert's edge to the river's banks. Shadoof's ingenious counterweighted irrigation devices dotted the landscape like giant wooden cranes. Farmers worked these simple machines with rhythmic precision, lifting precious water from canals to higher fields. The sound of creaking wood and splashing water provided a constant soundtrack to rural Egyptian life, punctuated by the songs of workers moving in synchronized harmony. The granaries of Egypt were architectural marvels in their own right, massive circular structures built of mud brick that could store grain for years. These silos represented the kingdom's insurance against famine, their contents carefully recorded by scribes who tracked every bushel with mathematical precision. When neighboring civilizations faced starvation, Egypt's abundance made it the breadbasket of the ancient world. Along the Nile's banks, papyrus marshes teemed with life that sustained both body and soul. Fishermen navigated reed boats through channels thick with waterfowl, their nets heavy with catches of perch, catfish, and mullet. These wetlands provided far more than food, however. The papyrus plant itself was transformed into the world's first practical writing material, enabling the administrative sophistication that held this vast empire together. Workshops scattered throughout the marshlands processed papyrus with techniques that remained trade secrets for centuries. Workers split the plant's pith into thin strips, arranged them in perpendicular layers, and pressed them under heavy stones until they formed smooth sheets. The finest papyrus, whiter than snow and smoother than silk, was reserved for royal decrees and sacred texts, while coarser grades served for everyday correspondence and record-keeping. The quarries of Aswan reveal another facet of Egyptian mastery over their environment. Here, workers extracted the pink granite that would become obelisks, statues, and sarcophagi, using techniques that modern engineers still struggle to understand. Teams of hundreds worked in perfect coordination, splitting massive blocks from living rock using copper tools, wooden wedges, and an intimate knowledge of stone that bordered on the mystical. The unfinished obelisk still lies in these ancient quarries, a 137-foot monolith that would have weighed over 1,100 tons when complete. Cracks discovered during carving forced its abandonment, leaving us a window into techniques that moved mountains. The precision of the work astounds modern observers. Workers carved channels barely wider than a human hand, yet perfectly straight for dozens of yards, creating geometric forms that would challenge today's machinery. Transportation of these massive monuments required engineering feats that rival any modern project. During flood season, specially constructed barges carried obelisks and colossal statues down the Nile, their progress celebrated in coastal towns and villages. The largest transport barge ever recorded measured over 200 feet in length, requiring crews of hundreds to navigate the river's currents and sandbars. The gold mines of the Eastern Desert fed Egypt's legendary wealth, their tunnels penetrating deep into mountains that glowed like bronze under the desert sun. Miners worked by lamplight in chambers carved from solid rock, following veins of precious metal that seemed to flow like frozen rivers through the stone. The working conditions were harsh beyond description, yet the gold they extracted adorned temples, furnished royal tombs, and established Egypt as the wealthiest nation on earth. Trade routes radiating from Egypt connected civilizations across 3 continents, carrying not just goods, but ideas that would reshape human history. Egyptian merchants established trading posts along the Red Sea coast, where they exchanged gold and grain for frankincense and myrrh from the mysterious land of Punt. Caravans crossed the Sinai Peninsula laden with copper from Egyptian mines, while ships sailed the Mediterranean carrying papyrus, linen, and finished goods to eager customers in distant ports. The diplomatic correspondence preserved in the Amarna letters reveals Egypt as the dominant power in a complex web of international relations. Pharaohs addressed foreign rulers as brothers or sons, depending on their relative status, while lesser kings pleaded for Egyptian gold to fund their own ambitions. This wasn't merely trade, but the foundation of the world's first truly international system, with Egypt at its prosperous center. The workshops of Memphis and Thebes hummed with activity as craftsmen created objects of stunning beauty and technical sophistication. Goldsmiths worked precious metals into jewelry so intricate that modern jewelers marvel at their techniques. Furniture makers created chairs and chests decorated with ivory, ebony, and precious stones that demonstrated mastery of materials gathered from across the known world. From across the known world. This was ancient Egypt at its magnificent peak, a civilization that mastered every element of human achievement, from architecture and engineering to art, agriculture, and international diplomacy. We've journeyed through Memphis with its gleaming white walls and bustling harbors, stood in awe beneath the towering columns of Karnak, and witnessed the daily lives of craftsmen whose skills built monuments for eternity. From the fertile fields nourished by the Nile's sacred floods to the gold mines that funded an empire, from the papyrus marshes that gave birth to written communication to the quarries where mountains were carved into gods, Egypt demonstrated what human civilization could accomplish when divine ambition met earthly mastery. The legacy of this golden age echoes through every museum, every mathematical principle, every medical technique, and every architectural wonder we admire today. These weren't just builders of pyramids and temples, but pioneers who established the very foundations of organized society, international trade, and human knowledge that continue to shape our world over 3 millennia later. Ancient Egypt's greatest achievement wasn't any single monument or conquest, but proving that human beings could create something truly eternal. So tell us in the comments, which lost civilization would you like to see brought back to life next? Your choice could guide our journey into the past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in history.